Ready.
So thank you for joining us at Video Testimony Project. We'll start with your name.
I'm Tim Harley.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Tim. My question for you is, what has Jesus done for you in your life?
I'm 72 years old. I didn't get sober until I was 52. And I ran away from God for many years. A pastor friend of mine, who I knew, married my sister and her husband on my back, my front yard, front room. As he left and I walked him out, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, Tim, I just can't wait for you to get on fire for the Lord. That was 30 years. Fortunately, before he passed, he got to see me on fire for the Lord. Because for 30 years, that conviction that he put on my shoulder stuck. Finally,
I appreciate you.
I started seeking God. I sought sobriety. Then I started seeking my spiritual count. Well, spirituality in AA, you have to have a higher power. Well, I chose my higher power to be Jesus Christ. But after much research, like Lee Strobel did in the case of Christ, he had to
I never learned.
get all the answers from all the experts. I did all that I could
That's awesome.
to figure out, like C.S. Lewis said,
It's all God.
Christ was either a liar, a lunatic, or who he said he was, the Son of God. I stand on that. I stand on his shoulders. But the reason for that that's so amazing is because here's my testimony. When I was born on the wrong side of the track. I was a construction worker's son. When I was around 5, my father was incarcerated for what turned out to be a 25-year sentence. Our little family, it was 1955. Our little family was torn apart, and to survive, my mother remarried to an alcoholic. That is where I learned to be an alcoholic.
It's the one.
I left home at 16. I had my brothers before me. And by the time I graduated from high school, I stayed in school. I was selling pot and pills and drinking like everybody else. By the time I was 19, I already had an unfavorable contact with the DEA. Now my father, my brother, and myself all had DEA jackets. The only thing that saved me from going to jail by the time I was 19 was the Marine Corps. I went in the Marine Corps, 1970, 1971. Only thing I really learned in the Marine Corps was how to party, and I did. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I continued to party. I married my first wife, and by the time I was 23, I got busted and I did time. In fact, I ran into my real father while I was in jail. How's that for irony? At this time, I acquired an attitude when it came to the law. Wife number one and I got divorced, and I moved to the Colorado River part of Arizona and worked and partied. I avoided going to jail with the exception of a couple of dues. Hold on. How do I get rid of this?
You too.
Oh, there we go. Like I was saying, I'm not very technologically savvy, but I got it. I kept from going to jail, except for a couple of duties and misdemeanor stuff. I got married a couple more times, and you know it. When you marry a party girl, sooner or later, it doesn't work. Pretty soon, I was 50 years old and going through wife number 4. Fortunately for me, this one didn't drink or drug. and she helped me to get sober. Now, I wasted over 30 years of my life pissing away my money and just plain screwing up my life. My wife had done living with a drunk before, so I had the motivation to stay sober or be single. I didn't really get the AA program until I had about a dozen years of sobriety. But the promises are real, and their fulfillment is the fruit of my labor. My higher power is Jesus Christ and God. Here I go again with the technology. My higher power, Jesus Christ and God, have kept me with the grace and mercy only He can give me. I squandered most of my life away and could only wonder of His faithfulness to me and the many blessings He has put into my life